Welcome back to a new episode of Campus to Capital. Today, Julius and I are joined by our home university's very own president, Peter Møllgaard. It's so nice to have you here today. Welcome, Peter.
Thank you so much, and thanks for having me.
And I mean, before we get really started, we thought it would be nice, and in addition to the podcast, would be nice for you to have a little souvenir. So we thought we bring you what we call Campus to Capital tombstone.
Oh wow!
So
I'm
maybe
not sure I want a tombstone right now. I am old, but
no.
Not that old. Thank you so much.
Yeah. So
number
maybe
22, is that it?
It's number 22. Yeah.
Amazing.
It's a nice number as well.
Exactly. Yeah. So maybe you find a nice place in your office or somewhere else.
Yeah. I think to put a picture of yourself in your office is pretty funny, isn't it? Yeah.
Storage unit is also okay.
But thank you so much.
No, of course.
Highly valued. I'll see where I can put it.
Okay, great.
Thanks.
Yeah.
I like the title Campus to Capital. We were just talking about it.
Yeah.
Of course, capital could mean money, but it could also mean capital city.
Exactly. Cognitive capital.
Cognitive capital. There's so many
many interpretations. Yeah.
Nicely ambiguous. Yeah.
Thanks. So before we get really started, could you maybe explain to our listeners what your job is, and maybe also how your career started initially?
Wow. As I said, I'm old. I'm 62, so my career spanned at least 4 decades now. But my job as university president, as president of Copenhagen Business School, is basically to have the responsibility for 21,108 students, such as you. But also, it's a rather large employer, so we have 1,500 employees plus a couple of thousand part-time employees. So it's really a big just sort of job in that sense. Lots of things to keep track of, and of course there are many good people helping me with that. So it is about the overall academic performance of Copenhagen Business School, but also the operations. So it's really it's my responsibility to make sure that this fine institution runs for the next 5 years at least. It will be probably more than that, but let's see. So that's my job, and how I got started. That's a long story, but back when I was in high school. And I finished high school, and probably you don't even. It's the previous millennium. I finished high school in 1982. So then I went to university, and I became an economist. I did that because I wanted to be able to affect the society that we live in. So I have an ambition, also with my current job, to affect institutions, markets, organizations with academic knowledge. And I think that was sort of that's been governing me through my career. Then I first became an economist here in Copenhagen, at the University of Copenhagen, a competitor. And after that I did a PhD in Italy, in Florence, at the European University Institute. And I specialized there in energy markets, which has also shaped my career a little bit, at least, in the sense that energy markets seems to be ever important. And also it got me interested in many things that I then I became an assistant professor, and actually at the University of Aarhus in another part of Denmark, and then I came back to CBS in 1996 as an associate professor. And at that time, my research interest was exactly energy markets, regulation, competition policy. How can we both develop new markets and also make sure that they work well, and to make that that sounds maybe a little bit meta, but to be very precise, it was around that time that Denmark became predominantly, or to an increasing degree, reliable on renewable energy. And so today we of course have one of the biggest parts of energy consumption covered by renewable energy in the world. at least for countries that don't have neither nuclear power nor hydropower. So that's quite an achievement. But that kind of stuff I thought was really interesting. So I think to understand how you could develop new markets with new technologies was really interesting, and we did that at the time. And I think around 2000 we got electricity markets into Denmark. And it's funny to think that before that we actually didn't have markets for that, but had different ways of governing that. And I was an associate professor at the time. Then I became a full professor. And I became head of the econ department here at CBS. I was that for a decade, from 2005 to 2015. Then I became the Dean of Research, also here at CBS, for a 3-year period. Then I left for Maastricht University, School of Business and Economics. Became a dean in the Netherlands through COVID, and it was a very interesting time I was there. My family moved there, and my daughter didn't thrive there, so we decided to move back. And so we moved back 4 years ago or so. My daughter went to a different high school, and she thrives today, and I'm very happy with that. And then this position became available almost 2 years ago, and I thought I'd give it a shot, and lo and behold, here I am as president of CBS. Nice. So that's one part of the story, and of course there are many other parts of it, but that's how it started. Yeah.
Well, and here we are, right?
Exactly.
So, and I mean, you just mentioned that there is obviously a lot of macroeconomic things going on in the world right now, and that you have a certain responsibility to potentially influence them as the president of this university. But I also think that there's loads of things going on right now internally at universities, maybe than even ever before. Actually, Julius and I are also part-time employees at CBS, with both of us being research assistants. So I think we see the ongoing struggle, maybe, or not struggle, but the ongoing pressure and challenges to receive funding for certain research activities. Yeah. And then also, I think next to that, also with AI, I think there is a big question mark / revolution in education right now. And then maybe in Denmark, not that much, but in very traditional education markets such as the US and the UK, you also currently see a big worry regarding employability of very recent undergrads and graduates. So there's so much to consider being a president of a university that someone would maybe not immediately think of. So with all of these things in mind at the same time, do you have a certain leadership style that allows you to navigate this ship, CBS, as its captain?
Yeah, I think I do. I think, first of all, I think you mentioned before we started the recording that you're fond of speaking. I think what is hugely valuable in today's society is that you actually listen, maybe more than you speak. And I think, and so that's part of my style, is to listen very carefully to different signals that come from students or from stakeholders in general, employees it could be, but also political stakeholders. I listen very carefully to information about how AI would transform society in general, but also universities in particular, and we have our own AI strategy for that. And so when we made that AI strategy, that was also with under the influence of the stakeholders, right? So students, employees, and our board of directors, but also, you know, international experts that govern this. Or I don't think you govern AI. Actually, I think it governs itself, or we need to find out what to do with it. But I really think that what I think I take pride in is listening to as many stakeholders as possible before I make decisions, and often they affect decisions in that way.
Very, very interesting, and maybe I could add to that. Maybe AI is governing us already.
Yeah,
we don't know. Yeah, but
it is influencing us.
It is influencing.
I could talk a lot about AI, so if you want to go that direction, I'm very happy to. But I'll let you guys decide where we go.
I think we have it on the agenda, but maybe a little bit further in.
Absolutely.
And I mean, yeah, Konstantin said you're leading a large educational institution in Denmark, and we've seen it in the last couple of months. Denmark is also affected by the global fragmentation and protectionism. So you, as being an economist, but also in that leadership role with certain responsibilities, how do you interpret that broader trend of fragmentation and protectionism?
Wow, that's a huge question. But so let me start, and then you can stop me and direct me if you want. But one of the things that we have we take note of is, of course, we're living in a polycrisis. That's also what you described, right? And what does that mean? We have geopolitical uncertainty and security crisis very clearly these days. Yeah. We have climate crisis, nature crisis, biodiversity crisis. We have in Europe a technology gap vis-a-vis China and the US. We have misinformation and disinformation. And each of those might be enough in itself, but they also combine to this polycrisis. In last year, I think or was it the year before, we called that the spiral of evil risks. And I think that's a good way of looking at it. So we do have a lot of uncertainties and a lot of crises, and you could think of that as stopping you from taking decisions, but actually I think you should do the opposite. So I think what we try to do as a university, and also to instill in you, the students, is the sense that responsible leadership, responsible agency in this world, is the ability to not only maneuver, but actually to find solutions in this mess. And I think that you should think of that as a set of possibilities. We have a completely new. I listened to Financial Times Martin Wolf the other day, a couple of weeks back, and he said, "Well, in one sentence, the current world order isn't. There is no world order. Yeah. We need to understand that, and then as responsible agents, as responsible leaders, we need to find our way to work with that." So that's and of course I'm old. You're young, so you guys have to find solutions in this mess, and I think that is what we should do, and that's what we should aim to give you. That's one reason why we have the Nordic 9. Mm-hmm. So the 9 capabilities for a positive future. That is because they really are about navigating or balancing trade-offs, paradoxes, dilemmas, and finding ways through that. And so for me, Nordic 9 are important because it's our attempt to instill you with the possibility to act and lead with wisdom. I don't know if I answered your question. But,
sort of.
So now it's on you.
But I think as us being no native Nordics, we're both from Germany. We already, at least I can speak for myself, I already tried to implement at least some of the Nordic 9 in my daily habits.
Which one is your favorite then?
I think the one on my card, it's about social responsibilities.
Yeah.
Yeah. I think it's the 5th one.
I don't remember the numbers either. It's the important thing is the context and that you think about it. So it's well done. Do you have a favorite?
To be honest, I don't know them off the top of my head. But I think the general idea of being honest, being in touch with other people, staying connected, being responsible, taking leadership, taking initiative. I think it's a nice way of summing up of what young people should aspire to be. And I also think, I mean, it's a clear part of CBS's identity. We all have one of the values printed on our student ID. Then we sometimes have banners hanging around here. I think in our intro week, we also got a speech where we were introduced to every single value, and it was contextualized for us. And speaking about this strategic identity and also within a global context, as we talked about the global geopolitical crisis that we have right now, I think it's super important to, more than ever, be a global citizen, to stay in touch, be international, stay connected. And then within this environment of global business education, we just saw also from the Financial Times the MBA rankings, where I think CBS placed as 86, if I'm correct. In the world, yes, which is obviously always very nice to hear when you're a student here as well. But within those rankings, when people maybe look at what universities they should pick and what to consider, obviously it's important to receive very, very good education, but where do you see the key differentiator, or what's your personal favorite aspect of this is the reason why CBS is unique, and this is why maybe someone should go and choose to go to CBS instead of other leading universities?
So Nordic 9, we are close to that. I think that is one reason, but I think if you compare us with other business schools in the world, in particular in the US, but probably also in Asia, we are much broader than the archetypical American American business school. So we have, of course, we do have marketing and finance and organization and strategy and all the classical operations management that you would expect of a business school. But we also have the wider social sciences and humanities that allow us to put business in a context. And I think that is something that sets us apart from most business schools in the world. There are some that are like-minded, and we have good collaboration with those like-minded. An example just south of Germany, in Wirtschaftsuniversität Wien, is similar in...
Pretty good pronunciation, by the way.
Dankeschön. But of course that is one of the things we should work on speaking many languages. But I think that kind of institutions that we are, VU Wien is, that is a... that's what sets us apart, really. So that's one differentiator. We also, and extremely like Wirtschaftsuniversität Wien, we are a very big university. So as I said, we are last year's number. I don't know the current year's number. We need to find that out in a month or so. But 21,108 students here. That's actually quite many for a business school, and that also allows us to be broad. So if you, I don't know, what are you studying, guys?
We're both studying DM, and I think, I mean, regarding that, it's not just at the MBA level, what you just described, right? It's also at the undergraduate level that there's such a great variety of...
our offering is much wider than...
I mean, compared to VU in Vienna as well, they only offer 3 undergraduate courses, where I think here it's 12 or 13 English taught bachelor programs that all offer a different angle on the world of business.
So and even our largest undergraduate is in Danish, right? And there's also a very magnificent education. So I really think we have very much going for us in terms of both the breadth and the depth of what we do.
I absolutely agree. And you just touched upon collaboration. Yeah. I mean, CBS is Triple Crown accredited. So you have this large network of collaborative universities. Yes. And we're just about to do an exchange semester.
Yeah, talking about that, I mean, exactly. when we got the results in December, it's like all of our friends are going all across the globe, from Asia, Europe, South America, North America, everywhere.
I think we have, to be precise, 292, almost 300, but 292 last I was counting, exchange agreements with business schools across the world, right?
Which is an incredible offering. Amazing, yeah. I mean, it was, I can't wait.
And just to talk about geopolitics, I think for the first time ever, the US is no longer the most sought after destination. So Australia is.
That's what I was about to ask, actually.
I'm still going to go to the US.
Where are you going?
I'm going to NYU.
Right. That's excellent.
It was a clear dream of mine from day one since I joined CBS.
But it's certainly an interesting time to go to the US.
Yeah. But how do you then balance something like that? Because it's super important to have collaboration overseas. I think you just did a sort of a deal with Stanford and Harvard, if I'm correct. So is it difficult for you to manage that partnership? I mean, considering the geopolitical tension between Denmark and the US?
It's not gotten easier, certainly, right? And so I am the way I maneuver in that, and I think that's. So we had in December, as part of the Danish presidency of the European Union, a conference here at CBS on science diplomacy. And I think one of the things that sort of the biggest message there is that scientists need to keep in touch even if governments disagree. So maybe that is the way we should handle this. Having said that, I'm also part of the board of directors of one of the accreditation bodies, AACSB, so the Association to Advance Collegiate Schools of Business, which is placed in Tampa, Florida, which is one of the reddest states in the U.S. And so we are too big a board, but a rather large board, 25 or so in the board from all over the world. And when Trump took power a year and some months ago, again, the immediate reaction of the executive at AACSB was to change the wording of DEI in the guiding principles for the accreditation, and then we were, I think, 30 or so Nordic business schools who told them, wait a second, I mean, just because you have a new guy as president of the US doesn't mean that we should change our guiding principles as an association which is worldwide. Yeah. So we're having some really solid discussions in the board on whether it's permissible to just change your standards in a sense because of that. And we had this statement. We also made a statement as CBS saying that, well, first of all, we still value academic freedom and we still value diversity, equity, and inclusion. And that is something that we're going to stand for, even if other parts of the world does not agree. Yep. And so of course that could hinder some. What we have heard of, we haven't experienced it much ourselves, but other universities in Europe have experienced that US collaboration partners said, well, you can't have that wording in your application, then we can't, or in your statutes, then we can't collaborate with you. And if that happens, I think we just say, well, so be it. If you decide you don't want to collaborate with us because we are insisting on DEI, then go along without us.
To set priorities.
We have a set of values. We stand by those, and we don't change the values just because of that. You are probably too old to know the expression by the Marx Brothers, Groucho Marx. You don't know, or you never heard of the Marx Brothers. No, of course not. But Groucho Marx has a statement in which he says, "Well, these are my principles. If you don't like them, I have others." And that's not who we are, right? Yeah. We have some principles. We stand by those principles, and so I think that's where we are in terms of we do science diplomacy. We also stand by our values, and that's of course a balance. And that's where Nordic 9 come in, because you can easily see dilemmas sometimes, right? How much should we push? And I just think that what I've What I've recently learned, I've become a huge fan of Mark Carney. I don't know, the Canadian Prime Minister, who came out at Davos saying, you know, we are maybe middle-sized countries. We are even a small-sized country in Denmark, but we have some values. We stand by them and we defend them. That's his. Not he did it much more eloquently, and I recommend to everybody listening to his 15-minute Davos speech. Made me a huge fan of the Canadian Prime Minister.
Well, in late 2025, you also had the former German Vice Chancellor Robert Habeck here at CBS.
Yes.
Giving a talk. Actually, we also had him on the podcast, yeah. So that was a double dipper from him.
And I've had him both in my office, just on a one-to-one, but also we had a roundtable discussing how we could collaborate on geopolitics and with his background.
Yeah, and in the face of DEI and globalization, do you see this as an increasing necessity or opportunity to contribute to certain debates on policies and general society, and also to give these discussions a stage at CBS as well?
So I'm not sure I understand the question, but I so maybe you should rephrase or ask me again.
Well, having had Robert Habeck here in late 2025, doing something like this, which kind of goes beyond the classroom setting of discussing what's taught in your programs, and rather inviting students to engage and discuss more broader and more contemporary themes.
Absolutely. I think we should engage as much as possible and as much as our energy allows us to in those kind. I'm particularly a fan of the Nordic 9 nights. I'm not sure if you're aware, but CBS students have those nights where I'm talking as if I was part of it. Actually, I'm not. I'm just supporting it. I think so. We take a Nordic 9. I keep saying we. I think that's probably good, but I have nothing to do with it, and except from giving moral support. So take a Nordic 9 principle and then discuss it in a context, and I think that's fantastic that you can have both students but also external stakeholders talk here. We have a lot of different occasions. I think also there was the municipal elections, right, that were also entered the building, and so I really think that we should engage with society, both at the local level but also at the global level. And I think CBS is well put to go all the way from Frederiksberg to basically the planet and how we can orchestrate for that. So I think we have an audience or a set of stakeholders that allow us to take to scale up and down in terms of geography.
Absolutely. So now we would actually like to jump into AI.
Okay,
so
it's
I mean,
one of my pet topics.
Okay. Let's see. I mean, there is a growing narrative that MINT studies, so anything mathematics related, are growing in relevance because of AI, and people say, okay, humanities and business degrees are getting obsolete because of AI. I already see you shaking your head. But what in your opinion is becoming the primary driver of economic innovation, and why are business degrees still relevant in today's world?
More relevant than ever. First of all, I think MINT is maybe partly German abbreviation.
STEM. Exactly.
Would be so science, technology, engineering, and mathematics, and of course those are hugely important. When I speak, especially if I speak with engineers, I say that technologies are less than half of the solution, and I truly believe that. I think what we should do is, I very often see also in public policy that STEM or technologies are favored and also supported by money, subsidized, And often I think we should actually start with the end in mind. So find out what is the need for this, what problem are we trying to solve? And who should find out what problem are we trying to solve? That should be social sciences and humanities, I submit. And especially, of course, business school students or graduates. To find out, saying, okay, well, there's a need in the market, or there's a need in society. There's a challenge to be solved. How do we best do that? And of course, technology could be part of the solution, but only part. Very often, that would in itself require a change of behavior, but it could also be that the solution was not a new technology, but a change of behavior or change of societal structure. So I really think to be more open-minded in where we find solutions, we need to start with societal needs, and that is best understood by us at Copenhagen Business School, or if you widen it a little bit to social sciences and humanities. And so I think we should work with that, and then I say, okay, derived from that, maybe we need a new technology. That would be great. So have a new technology for windmills. I mentioned those was part of that change of technology around the millennium that now is hugely important on a global level. Solar panels would be another example. But of course, what we need to understand is how society reacts to that and how markets evolve, and I think that is really the stuff that we're made of. And of course, today, if you think about tariffs or other things that come up, of course you need to understand what tariffs could do to a society. And that's not technology. That's of course something that has to do with markets and institutions, and we need to be those who actually translate that and find business solutions in that space.
And when we challenge kind of the business versus STEM education, I know in today's world that we increasingly see STEM educated students and business educated students competing for the same jobs, not because I think there's a great overlap in teaching, but maybe because STEM students are interested in benefits such as the compensation within business jobs. And then, as you mentioned, the AI strategy of CBS earlier, maybe with the idea in mind on how to retain a competitive edge in this market for business students, where do you think it is important for a business school to not leverage AI for something, and then maybe where it is important to double down with AI on something for future best practices?
That's the first part of the question is more difficult than the second. I think we should double down on everything pretty much, right? And that's
okay.
I think that is also in a sense the nature of our AI strategy, that we embrace the technology. Let me think about the where we shouldn't employ it. I really have to think hard about that. What our AI strategy does is basically to say we have 3 levels of AI knowledge. First of all, we should understand at CBS how AI affects society, and that goes for the labor markets, which we discussed, but also for, since AI affects almost any processes in society, we need to understand that and be able to give you guys, our students, an understanding of where society is heading and what it does to productivity, but to the way we engage as humans with each other and with technology. So I think that's one. The other one is that, and that's maybe where we need to think about if there are areas where we shouldn't use AI. But I think, as I would very much like to put it positively and say, we need to understand how you can learn with AI, and that's not by giving you easy solutions to problems, but that is by changing the way you learn, and that's one of the things that we are trying to do right now. And just to be very boring, what we try to do now is to make sure that we have a constructive alignment between the learning goals in courses, the pedagogics, and the assessment exams. And unless we get that right, you guys don't learn with AI. You learn either despite of AI, or you don't learn. If you just go to the easy solution, right? I have a term paper. I can do that in 3 minutes now. It used to take me 3 weeks. You don't learn by doing it in 3 minutes. So we need to somehow adjust for that. And the third area in which we should use AI is basically in our own operations in research. And if you're research assistants, maybe you know that your researchers actually use AI in doing their research in education. We shouldn't spend so much time on doing our PowerPoints as we used to. Maybe we can spend it giving you guys feedback. And of course in our own operations, and we're doing all of that as well. So it's really something that we're doing quite a lot of. And so if I understood your question correctly, maybe you shouldn't use AI in the here's an easy solution kind of way, but use it to learn.
Yeah, for sure. I mean, I think it's because as a student, obviously, maybe especially just because we study digital management, I think we're hyper engaged with that topic. And also when it comes to tech and AI in education, we also talked to Kim Rans, who's a CBS alumni who founded Alice Tech, which I'm sure that you're familiar with. But I think I see a huge opportunity with AI in teaching, but then also as someone who sits in the classroom, I also see a major threat that AI could significantly decrease the quality of teaching as well, while trying to optimize for efficiency. So I think it's something very important to keep in mind and to balance as well.
Absolutely.
Yeah. I mean, let's face it, there is misuse as well. I mean,
of course,
we're students, we know it. Academic.
I'm sure you guys don't, but
no, of
people
course.
do it.
Yeah.
No, and of course we understand that as well, right?
No,
and of course.
But I mean, academic integrity really clashes with this innovation. So I mean, I talked about this with the professor I work for as well, and he told me that from next year on they want to change the exam formats again, to go back from home assignments to actually doing everything, or not everything, but much more in the in Amaga, in our examination hall. So sit in the exams. But did you as a university ever think about collaborating with, I don't know, OpenAI or Anthropic or any other big tech firm to give students permanent access to those tools? Because if you change the exam format, then I mean the misuse will be less, and the
yes, we have started a collaboration with OpenAI, and so right now so this comes in stages, and it's also according to our AI strategy, because we can't do everything in one go. But we have supplied all scientific personnel at CBS with a professional version of ChatGPT. All administrative personnel work with Copilot. And of course, scientific personnel who have special needs or special wishes, because, for example, they research AI, they can get access to more than those two. We are thinking, because it's quite expensive right now, and that's why we're also collaborating with OpenAI, that the next step will probably be to grant access to students who write their master's thesis, give them access to OpenAI for free. And then down the road, we want to roll it out. But we need to find out how we can get, university licenses at a reasonable cost. Otherwise, we'll very quickly exhaust our budget. So there is a plan, and I think we should all. My guess is that in a couple of years, we'll all have something very integrated into our work life, and also students at CBS. And also a professional version that we supply students with, but it is quite costly right now, and we're spending multiple million Danish kroner on that right now. I think that the cost will come down, and we'll find a way to get an enterprise version that we can use with students as well. But we need we need a little bit more time to do that. So I really think it's going to be integrated in our lives and your lives as well very, very soon.
I mean, to look at the other side of things.
And by very soon, I know that might not be relevant for a student who's graduating in a few years. But
if we do our masters here, maybe.
Yes, there you need,
exactly.
One reason for doing your masters here is to get access.
To look at the other side of things, now talking about the human and not the machine. As education is changing, also the skills that we need as humans, or the skills that are more important, are changing as well. So to give the future outlook, what do you think is now more important than before for a business student to have in terms of skill set, and what should a business student look into to excel in the future environment that we will move into once we graduate?
Very good question. I think so many things one could answer here, but one of the things, you mentioned the word excel, but one thing you don't need is Excel. I think because that will be more or less done by you, or you will have a different way. You will have a dialogue with your Excel sheet rather than
Exactly.
Exactly. I think personally, I think the jury is still out here. Unless you're very techie, you should use the occasion to become more human. And there's a book title there for you if you want to read. There's a book called More Human, about if you are working with AI, what should you ask AI to do for you, which would take up a lot of time. Find out where does AI, your avatar have, I'm sure you have an avatar each at least. Where would your avatar actually work faster for you, and where would you then have the time to think about the deeper questions, the right prompts, the stuff that AI cannot do for you, which is a lot of thinking across the interdisciplinary, the intuitive, the critical thinking. I think that would be where I think I know that's not a set of skills, but maybe more somewhere between a set of values and a state of mind that you need to work with. Does that make sense? I you're nodding, but I'm not sure I'm making sense.
It does. I mean, we see it with, agentic AI. I mean, the headlines the last couple of weeks were agentic AI and
exactly.
Moldbot, Cloudbot, whatever you call it. Definitely, I think we have pretty exciting, but maybe also scary times ahead.
Yeah. I wouldn't worry if I were you, but I also would invest in understanding how this works.
Yeah.
And how you can differentiate, and by differentiate, of course you can differentiate to students across, or graduates when you get there across the world who have not engaged as much with AI as you have. But you also need to differentiate with respect to your avatar or what an AI agent can do. Of course, doing a financial statement analysis, for example, right? Yeah. That has to be different. So it will be AI supported. And of course, you need to understand the basics, but you also need to understand the tools, and then you need to use your critical mind to say, okay, what did I learn? How sure am I, first off, if that what AI told me is correct? And secondly, how can I make sense of this, and how can I differentiate myself when it comes to taking it to the next level? And by that I mean, identifying what the real issues are in this company that we're looking at.
It's so. I mean, I could probably spend another 2 hours on talking about it.
And of course, then I want to recommend something to you and maybe also the listeners. One of the podcasts that I've been listening to and is something called Boss Class from The Economist. And there's a guy called Andrew Palmer. And Andrew Palmer is, first of all, I think, but maybe he's also closer to my age than your age, very funny. This British humor. And he this last season of Boss Class takes exactly how does AI affect leadership? How does it affect the job market and things we need? How does it affect recruitment? So I invite you to think about listening to Boss Class. It's actually fun, and it's like 4 or 5 episodes. Really a lot of fun. So very well researched as well.
You've heard it. We're definitely going to put it in the show notes, and I will check it out as well. But maybe moving along to something else. We want to talk a bit about the life of international students at CBS, because we're both international students, although our culture is very close to the Danish culture, as we're both being Germans. I mean, we're from Munich, so it's a bit further away, but still, it was
the deep south.
Yeah, deep south. It was fairly easy for us to integrate ourselves into society, to get to know everything in university and so on and so forth. But there are certainly some students that move far from, I don't know, South America, Asia, to CBS and spend a couple of years here to study or even then stay in Denmark.
Hopefully.
Yeah, but I mean, we both agreed on before we did this podcast that there seems to be a growing gap between educated students from outside of Denmark and then actually job offerings for people that are non-Danish. We face the problem of finding a job.
Really? Okay.
Yeah.
Interesting.
But maybe that's very subjective. But what is CBS doing to tackle that problem? I mean, today actually, I know you can't see this right now, but outside there are, I don't know, 41 booths of
a huge fuss.
Exactly, of exciting companies that recruit at campus. So that's definitely one thing you do. But what would you tell students from outside?
No, there's many things. First of all, I think that Denmark is, and maybe I should start by trying to sell Denmark a little bit in Copenhagen, since we are campus to capital also in that sense. Copenhagen is the capital city, and I think it is possible to have it's a very livable city in my view. It is easy to live here also as an international worker in Copenhagen. What do we do? Of course, we do career fairs, as the one you mentioned, but we also work with the Confederation of Danish Industries, the Chamber of Commerce, to make sure that our graduates feel welcome in the Danish labor market. And we do that through a number of different channels, but actually those two that I mentioned are very favorable to having more international students. And then, of course, like in many other countries in Europe, in the world, I believe, there are movements that push against having more international participation in the job market, and that's something we need to take note of. We have elections in Denmark right now, so this may change as well after the elections. But really, we are lobbying to make sure that we can get more international students, and that we can also provide a gateway into the labor market in Denmark. And I think actually companies are really, really keen to employ our graduates. We have one of the lowest. The Technical University in Denmark is a close competitor here, but the two of us have very, very low unemployment rates for all students, including international students. So there is a demand for you guys out there, and I think we need to work on that, both the political level. We work with the organizations such as the Confederation of Danish Industries, and I think that's what I can do as an institution, or what CBS can do as an institution.
I mean, that's a good point. But actually, there's something within it as an international student that I would like to inquire about, because I think personally, I would critique it, but I think maybe there's a reason for it. As an international student who, for his time after CBS, did rather look into starting or is looking into a career outside of Denmark, and who's curious about the international career field, I kind of thought that there was not really support for that from the side of CBS. For example, I think when you look at the CV templates that CBS offers, I think they're not up to the standards that finance and consulting roles maybe require, that obviously loads of business students want to move into. And then also I think with as second year students often apply for summer internships, I thought that the guidance events regarding landing internships were not really in line with the recruiting timelines of those business related industries. So I wanted to ask, is that something that you plan on changing into the future, or do you rather see importance in remaining centered and focused on the Danish labor markets?
We have always taken pride in placement also internationally. So I think that continues to be important. It's clear also that if I ignore the Danish labor market as a Danish university president, then I also don't do my job. So we need to. I think it's a typical Nordic 9 dilemma, or it's not even a dilemma, because there is no, in my view, no contradiction. I think what we should do, if you want to stay, let me just say, then we should find a way to have you stay. If you want to leave, we should have you placed in the best possible way. And then, of course, I hope you come back, or if you don't come back, you become an ambassador of Denmark, and that typically happens to people who have their education from us. So actually, I don't think that there's a big contradiction. I took note of what you said about the career support we have for international students who want to go abroad. I'll go back and see if we can do something about that. That shouldn't be that there would be substandard support for that. But really, I need to, of course, to cater to both parts, right?
Yeah. For sure. I mean, and on the ambassador perspective, obviously, while I was seeking job positions, internship positions outside of Denmark, I reached out to CBS alumni that also managed to land jobs with the companies in the countries and positions that I was interested in, and I have to say that all of them were very supportive and provided me the guidance that I maybe did not find on my CBS.com. But at least it was still in relation with. So there seems to be a very nice.
If you found CBS.com, then maybe it should be CBS.dk. So maybe you looked at Columbia Broadcasting Systems, and I apologize for immediately for what we didn't supply you there.
Yeah, but I mean, reflecting on everything we just talked about, maybe to sum up the very interesting conversation we had today, if you would have to give students like us one final advice, how to navigate the next, let's say, 5 to 10 years in a fragmented, AI-driven world. I don't know what I missed, but these were, I would say, the two main things we talked about today. What would it be?
I don't know. You know, I was also an international student. I went to Italy, as I told you, and I think that don't be too worried. I think you have, the world and the future is open, are open to you. So. Maybe the advice would be, other than embrace AI critically, it would be also to somehow go out and, sounds like Nike, just do it. But actually, don't be too worried about the first possibility. Find something that interests you, and I know that you often think that if I don't get my immediate first priority job, then everything is lost. It isn't. I mean, there's so much time, and you have time to make maybe here is one. Then, if you want one-liner, if you fail brilliantly. And by that I mean, go out, and if it doesn't work out the first time, then you learn from that, and then you just move on. And I think the best people in the world are those who have failed a number of times and still move forward. And with that kind of approach, you'll get very far. And if you want everything perfect from the outset, then I think you're set for a less interesting career.
Well, what doesn't kill you only makes you stronger, right? But I think that's a very good piece of advice, and I also think it's. I mean, I said this before we started recording. I think as a student that's at CBS myself, it's a great opportunity to get to hear and speak with from someone who has maybe the most detailed top-down perspective on our institution, and I think it's great to get these insights and also to be able to share them with other students at CBS and also around the world. So thank you very much for taking the time, Peter. I really appreciate it.
Julius, it's been a pleasure. Konstantin, yeah.
Thank you very much.
Yeah.